Our spot for a smorgasbord of information from RecallGavin2020.com in a tasty, non-caloric, gluten-free bite. It's Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
All the leaves are brown. All the leaves are brown. The sky is gray. And the sky is gray.
Well, good evening, everybody. All the way from down south as you go to get to another country, to the Oregon border. It's Friday nights at the French Laundry, where the cuisine's always California politics. And, of course, our main entree is the recall of Gavin Newsom. And what a week it's been. And we're going to get to the final numbers here in a second, such they are. But I want to say we're blessed and excited for everything we've got going tonight. I'm actually in studio tonight with our head chef and the head of the recall movement. That's Orrin Heatley. Say hi, Orrin.
Happy to be here, folks.
And you should be happy to be here, Orrin. We're happy to have the hardest working man in the recall business.
It's a long drive down in the rain from Sacramento.
Well, hey, we're so poor in the recall, Orrin. You're lucky you didn't have to walk.
It's nice to have a little rain, though.
Yes, it is.
Especially since we haven't built any water storage in 3 decades.
Well, we're apparently in a drought, Orrin, but that's a rumor.
We're headed that way. We're headed that way. We have a beautiful train, but we have no new dams, no new reservoirs.
You can go sit on the train. I don't believe it actually goes anywhere. It's literally not only the bullet train to nowhere, it's the stop train to nowhere. But we'll get into that in just a bit here, because we also have tonight Randy Economy taking your cash. Randy, say hi.
I'll take anybody's cash.
I know you will.
Because that's what we do here at RecallGavin2020.com.
But we have a surprise for you tonight. We were going to call him, but we found him out in the parking lot on his cell phone. We have in the studio tonight the best legislature in California, the one who's fighting for you all the time.
An American hero.
An American hero.
And the most handsome.
Well, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Let's not push that. Kevin Kiley. Kevin. Hey, at my age, I can say
Assemblyman Kevin
Assemblyman
Kiley.
Kevin Kiley.
Kyles. We got Kyles on the phone. We got
It's an
Kyles
honor
right
to
here.
be here.
It should be, Kevin.
I'm a little starstruck. I was just reading the article in Politico about the three of you, and now here I am sitting with you.
It's a little scary. It's a little frightening. Do you want to talk about the political article right now?
We'll get to the political article in a second.
Okay,
here.
very good.
But before we do out there, for everybody out there, it's amazing. It's amazing beyond belief. This St. Patrick's Day, the luck of the Irish fell upon California, not just because you were wearing green and didn't get pinched. I had to pinch myself because we literally did something that no one said we could do. Right, Orrin?
There have been some naysayers.
Yes, there have been just a few naysayers. The political machine on the right, the political machine on the left, but you, the people of California, you, the volunteers out there, who, by the way, can call into 1-800-222-5222, because we want to hear from you and everybody tonight. We have announced a count on Wednesday that we're gradually moving to the proper count, but I want to get to that count that Robin gave me tonight. Please don't turn off our show, because we need the listeners. But we have an official count from Robin tonight of 2,118,000. We're still reconciling receipts, but we think that we've got 2,125,000 turned in. I said once before, I'll get there. I'll get to the applause in a second. Calm down. I said once before that what we had done or doing is historic, but we had not made history. My friends out there, for all you volunteers that stood out there in the rain, the snow, the heat, and everything else, tonight I could say, we've made history. Turn that applause up a little bit louder. And by the way, that applause was not for Gavin Newsom, because he was in an empty Dodger Stadium. I want to really say on a quasi-serious note, because I'm rarely serious, but we are really blessed. We are blessed in California. Wouldn't you say, Randy?
I'm blessed. We're all blessed. Absolutely.
To have over 2.1 million people sign this petition to have over 20, 40, 50,000 volunteers out there, for Orrin Heatley to be able to bring this crew together, to unite people, to open up the discussion, which is why we have Kevin on the show tonight, to continue to remind people about what we're going to do in the next phase. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what the next phase is going to do, because we have a lot of questions on that. This Board of Registers, and by the way, I want to hear another round of applause for Orrin. That was a cue to our sound. Studio won't let us put 50,000 people in here, so in case you don't know, that's a sound effect. Orrin has literally drove down here tonight to be in studio with us, and I really got to tell you that for everybody out there, for the ROVs as we call them, for the people that were running petitions back at the last minute to the Board of Registers, I really want everybody to get their arms around what a complex task this has been. These petitions in California, in every state that's got a recall, and there's 19 of them, are different. This task is incredibly complex. They were fed into a central location, into a mailroom, divided into piles, collected by volunteers, delivered to 58 county registers over a period of time where appointments had to be made. And up until just the last minute, there were literally people turning in petitions to ROVs running over at 5 minutes to 5 on Wednesday. For all of you out there, for everybody listening, thank you. The state thanks you. The people of California thank you. And I think the country is going to thank you. And I really don't know if we have words to express that. Randy, you want to expound upon that a little bit? Or let's look busy.
You know what? I've been in politics my whole life. You know, and I've been a journalist so I guess I can say I'm always dual diagnosed. But what I think we have been able to accomplish is something that none of the experts gave the people any credit. They said the people of California, they're never going to get involved. They're not going to do this. It's too much work. We're having a pandemic. We've got everything shut down. And you know what? The people did it. The people of this movement, the tens of thousands of people who made the phone calls, who passed the petitions, who talked to their neighbors, who defied every odd in the world, did it. The people did this movement, and what a blessing.
And that's really what makes it special. Again, for everybody out there, especially for the Washington Post is sitting here tonight, because you may have not heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. This was the largest initiative in American history, and still is. The largest. Barring none. For everybody out there that says, oh, it's easy, it's only 2 million people, let me tell you something. If any of you out there collected 2 million of anything, this had to be a handwritten signature on a sheet of paper, collected all over a state, which is how long you've driven it? 1,200 miles long?
Oh, it's a long trip either way you do it.
Okay. 40 million people, 1,200 miles long. It's just a long trip. Orrin doesn't even know anymore. He's like, I don't know. I've been everywhere. Right? And back and forth.
Orrin needs a cup of coffee.
That would be great.
And
I'm
maybe a slice.
I'm just waiting for the pizza to get out of the oven.
We've ordered 2 pizzas.
Whoa,
so wait a
from
second.
the kitchen.
Wait a minute.
Even though
Our
pizzas
head
aren't
kitchen
French.
chef. You're not supposed to say that on the air. I know we're reboxing it and serving it to our guests.
I said we are waiting for the pizza to get out of the oven.
Thank you. Now
Much
I'll correct
better.
you.
Thank you
There
for the
we go.
clarification.
Kevin, can I ask your opinion as a person in the legislature, kind of looking from the outside in?
Don't pound the table.
You can.
Is there any buzz on this in the assembly floor? Are they really talking about it, or are they kind of ignoring it?
Oh, sure. I mean, people are well aware of what's going on. And I think that, it's seen as threatening precisely for the reason that Randy was just talking about. I mean, the recall is exactly the opposite of politics as usual in California, where everything is designed to shut the people out, to limit access to our government, to limit popular participation, to consolidate power in the hands of a narrow political class and lobbyists, or as the case may be this last year, one person. And the recall is completely flipping that paradigm. And I think that's why people see it as so threatening if you're part of that class, but is so powerful is if you're part of the people who have been disenfranchised for so long.
I think Well, everybody needs to really get their arms around what Kevin just said, because we kept asking about what's next. And we want to know the statistics and the date, and when's the election, and how's it being verified. Look, we gathered 2 million, almost 2.2 million, but I'll say 2.1 million and change. We have an 85% verification rate. This is getting on the ballot. Orrin, you always said this is a pass-fail, right?
I think that with what we've been able to do, I think that statistically it would be nearly impossible for them to reject or rescind the number of signatures needed to overturn what we put together. So I think it is going to a special election, and you and I and our team have done our jobs. This is far from over. But, it's amazing, and I will speak to it just shortly. The governor has come out swinging against the team that started this recall, but it's a little too late, too little too late in that endeavor, because we're done, sir. We're done. We've done our job, and now we're moving on. He's run out of reasons to attack the reasons behind, or he's run out of arguments to attack the reasons behind the recall. The long laundry list of reasons that we are doing this. It's not just about COVID. We can make the case without even bringing up the French Laundry. We can make the case to recall this governor without even touching his mismanagement of the COVID crisis. But rather than dealing with the matters at hand and the problems behind the recall, he's attacking the people that have gotten behind the recall instead. So rather than addressing the problems, he's attacking the people.
And we're going to get to that in the next segment. That's one reason we have Kevin in the studio, not just another pretty face, but Kevin's going to talk about a lot of the things that he sees in the legislature and the book he wrote. In the meantime, out there, everybody today, give yourself a virtual cheer, a hand in the sky, 2 hands in the sky. We have done it. And what Kevin said is really important. We, the people, in this next phase, cannot allow politics as usual. Money's going to pour in. Newsom's going to rant rave. It's kind of like a salad with no calories. He's not saying that much. But for everybody out there, understand, when the committee recall Gavin 2020, I'm not taking it back. It's Friday nights at the French Laundry, 1-800-222-5222. KABC up and down the coast.
So we got you on camera. It wasn't me. You said we can't be super spread.
KABC dependable traffic right now. 91 freeway eastbound at Cherry Avenue in Long Beach. Motorcycle crash just reported. Third lane from the center divider is reported to be blocked initially. CHP arriving on scene. They may shut down a couple lanes here. 91 east at Cherry. On the 405 freeway northbound at Hawthorne Boulevard, a stall. Highway Patrol says middle lane shut down there and traffic really getting extra heavily congested. Back to the 91, this time 91 eastbound at Atlantic Avenue, a crash just reported. 5 freeway northbound before Templin Highway in Castaic. Big rig fire earlier, right lane still shut down with a cleanup. Big jam out of Valencia. That's dependable traffic. I'm Richard Turnage, AM 790 KABC.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
USC is in the dance and ready to bust some mad moves.
Peterson lobbed to Mobley. There's a one-hand throwdown. That's what we came to see.
First round action gets underway tomorrow at 1:15 on your home for Trojans basketball. AM 790 KABC. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Well, as you just heard, USC is in the big dance on this radio station. But let me tell you, we're dancing here at KABC tonight because we are getting on the ballot the recall of Gavin Newsom. I want to remind everybody out there that there's a lot of reasons that people keep talking about, COVID's going to go away, life will go back to normal. And I also want to remind everybody that I don't have a lot of respect for Gavin Newsom, hence why I don't call him governor. I have been corrected in studio, and I have Assemblyman Kevin Kiley here tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. And I want Kevin to talk a little bit because we need to focus on what a lot of the things that have come out about Gavin and what's wrong with our state with everyday politics. So, Kevin, you wrote a book on it. But more importantly, I've had a lot of great conversations with you about, I don't want to use the word corruption, and I wouldn't dare use the word corruption on the air, but if I was to use the word corruption, how would you describe it? What do you think is wrong with what Gavin's doing, how he doesn't talk to people? Is it communication? Is it ineptness?
Well, I think it's all of those things. But I think, corruption is really the core of the problem. And I think that that's what's so instructive about this last year. And in fact, maybe we owe Gavin Newsom thanks for this, is he's managed to put all of the problems of California government on just stark display, and make it so clear to everyone why our state's been going downhill for so long. He's just managed to bring that downward decline into a sort of total free fall over the last year. So, you look at things like the school closures, which have been worse here than anywhere in the country. We're 50th out of 50 in getting our kids back to school. Well, that's for the same reason that our public education system was failing before, because it's controlled by special interest groups, the same special interests that put Governor Newsom in office, that are his biggest campaign funder, and whose business model is predicated on keeping kids trapped in failing schools. It's a similar story with the EDD and all of the failures there. It just sort of epitomizes the failures of our state bureaucracy, or the fact that we have the worst business shutdown here. Even before COVID, we had the worst business environment with regulations and the litigation environment. So in a way, Gavin Newsom's corruption has just put all of the existing perversities of our politics on steroids. And I think that's what makes this recall so powerful, is that by rejecting him, we're rejecting sort of all of those problems with our politics and have a chance to set our state on a new course.
Kevin, you bring up some points actually ahead of me. I'm sorry, Assemblyman Kiley.
Kevin's just fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Netter.
Okay,
Netters.
Thank God there isn't one of me. Gavin's wishing there wasn't even one right now.
There could be more than one Netter around here.
But what's been the talk? The LA Times came out with an interesting article the other day, actually stating, it was an opinion piece by somebody, this state has no accountability. Is there any talk in the legislature about accountability for what's going on with the EDD?
Not much. Well, I should say on the EDD issue, eventually some legislators came around to, in fact, from the beginning, legislators were raising concerns because, all of us have had, thousands of our constituents who have been calling, have been writing, who have been so incredibly frustrated and have been so egregiously harmed by this mismanagement. But for several months, legislators would kind of tiptoe around placing the blame on the governor. But then at some point, maybe it was last August or something, that pretense just vanished. And 61 legislators, most of them Democrats, wrote a scathing letter to the governor calling him out for his mismanagement and for his failure to take the necessary steps to rectify the situation. And now we find ourselves a year later, and I think the backlog is still over 1 million. And frankly, the governor also, from almost the beginning, used the crisis to sort of weaponize the EDD in order to enforce laws like AB 5 that benefit the special interests that are his primary funders. So, it's just another example of how this is highlighted for many people how broken our politics is.
So go ahead, Randy.
No, especially because EDD means Educational Development Division.
Employment.
No.
Oh, Employment Development Division.
Employment.
Just wanted to make that clarification.
Yeah, there you go.
Oren, want to ask Kevin anything, or should I just go on?
Yeah.
Because I will.
No, I mean, how do we end up with $10 to $31 billion missing and nobody that it is held accountable that I'm aware of? But did the state auditor not warn the governor before all of this that the EDD was ripe, her words, I believe, ripe for corruption and fraud?
Yes, and there were several warnings from the federal government. This is something that the prosecutors who uncovered the EDD fraud made very clear, and the vast majority of other states have followed common sense practices like checking against prison rolls and that sort of thing. Governor Newsom did not do that. Yet, incredibly, in his sort of media blitz these last few days against the recall, one of many false claims that he made is that what's happened in California is not unique. In fact, institutions like Bank of America have said
it's I don't mean to cut you off, but it's not unique. California sent out EDD funds all over the country.
Good point.
Sorry, but
yes. So putting that sort of form of spreading the problem aside, it's been identified as unique to California, the scale of what happened. No other state has anything close to this. It's the biggest fraud of taxpayer dollars in California history. And the governor also said that, this is going on in other states, but the only reason you were seeing it here is because there was this audit done. In fact, it was not the state itself that uncovered the fraud. It took county prosecutors like Anne Marie Schubert in Sacramento County or Vern Pearson in El Dorado County to uncover this mess.
God bless them.
So,
Yeah.
Kevin,
Wow.
I know that we live, people say we live in a one-party state, that Democrats rule every aspect of the state capital, which they do, to be honest with you. So what kind of conversations do you have with a rank-and-file member of the Democratic side of the aisle in regards to the mismanagement of Gavin Newsom, especially with the EDD situation? Do they ever, under their breath, admit it? Do they talk behind their backs? How do they handle it? How do you interact with these guys?
Yeah, so I mean, people are, not that hesitant, I'd say, to identify problems with the EDD. And there's been a lot of frustration that's boiled over even publicly among the Democratic caucus with the governor's handling of many facets of this, with his, willingness to simply do things on his own and ignore the legislature, and the vaccine rollout, certainly. I mean, you name it, the school shutdown for sure. So there's been a lot of public criticism. There has not been a willingness on the part of the legislature and its leadership, though, to actually stand up to the governor. And I think that, frankly, it's because our legislature is controlled by the same special interests that control Gavin Newsom, and having a sort of one-person government actually makes it easier for them. They can just sort of tell the governor what to do, and they don't have to wrangle with 120 legislators.
I find it so fascinating, and I don't know much about budgetary or politics, Kevin, but isn't it kind of weird in that we've misplaced or had $11 to $30 billion, and Gavin Newsom is trying to make a case to the open public about how a special election costs $80 to $100 million? Yeah. I'm a little bit confused.
We could have built 62,000 single-family homes.
Yeah,
with that money, 62,000. That would have damn near housed every homeless person in our state right now. Well, about half.
Depends how nice
but
house.
Room them,
Right. Or we could have recalled the governor 400 times.
Yeah.
400 times, yeah.
So I guess, is anybody in the legislative buzz, why we have you here, is anybody really buying this hyperbole that Gavin's putting out, that where are we going to get the 80 to 100 million?
I do hear a few people in the legislature who have been kind of part of the anti-recall push over the last week who have raised this issue of cost. It's the one time I've ever heard them raise cost if anything is an issue. The state budget has doubled over the last decade. I never hear anyone concerned about that, over $200 billion. And yet suddenly the cost of a recall election, everyone is this real, fiscal conservative. But the other point I want to make is that this money that with the fraud isn't just vanishing into thin air, right? Remember, it's going to criminals. Mm-hmm. And they're not using those funds for charity. They're actually using it to fund criminal activity.
Guns on the street.
That's right. Street gangs are using it to buy weapons to terrorize communities. So it'd be a lot better if this $31 billion were just vanishing into thin air. It's not.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So we're going to get to after the break. And by the way, we have big breaking news after the break. Very big breaking news having to do with the recall. They call that a teaser, I've learned in the business.
It's a teaser.
But we do have it. But Kevin, one of the things also that I want you to cover after the break, and we're going to have Ed on, is this thing that's one of my passions, about the emergency procurement powers that Gavin Newsom literally asked for a year extension on. I just find that kind of bizarre, as he's awarded these 100 no-bid contracts. I know you asked for an investigation on the legislative floor based on that Scott Rod article. Mm-hmm. Anything?
Nothing. Nope. Which is kind of crazy considering what's going on, is you have a governor who's using his emergency powers to award no-bid contracts to his top campaign donors, and the legislature is just shrugging its shoulders, but that kind of sums up the dynamic of the last year.
And refresh everybody's memory out there. Newsom has awarded over about 100, almost exactly, no-bid contracts in the last year, 12 of them, including a couple for vaccine distribution, to his largest donors to his campaign. That includes a little bit of the mask contract, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, the BYD China contract, that was over $1 billion. Newsom awarded that behind the back of the legislature, wired half the money, $500 million up front. This is with one of the world's shadiest companies, by the way. It's run by the Chinese Communist Party. They have been reported to have ties to forced labor. They have this history of malfunctioning products, like in New Mexico and here in LA, I think their buses would just sort of go up in flames. And, Newsom, and it turns out that the California subsidiary of this company, the president gave $40,000 to Newsom's campaign. But, the whole purpose of this contract, we learned what its purpose was when Newsom went on the Rachel Maddow show on April 7th and used this massive contract to declare that California was no longer just a state, but we were now the nation state of California. And it was, in fact, the following morning that he got to see President Newsom start trending on Twitter, which I can assure you is something we're never going to see trending on Twitter again.
Probably not. That hashtag's gone away. This is going to get real interesting. Please stay tuned. We're going to have big breaking news after the break about the recall that I just got in on my cell phone, okay? This is KABC. Wait, let me do that again. It's KABC, Friday nights at the French Laundry, up and down the coast, all the way from the national border, Oregon. It's Friday nights at the French Laundry. It's 1-800-222-5222. Orrin has left his desk.
They are more contagious after all, they're mouth breathers. Just tell them it's important to follow all the law. How any
AM 790.
KABC News at 7:30. I'm Sharon Reardon. Good evening. Kids can sit closer to each other in class safely, according to the CDC. It changed school reopening guidelines, allowing desks to be 3 feet apart instead of 6. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says the revised recommendations aim to help schools reopen safely and remain open for in-person instruction. An LA teacher is suing his union because they won't let him leave it.
Glenn Laird tells Fox News he decided to leave the United Teachers of Los Angeles because of its increasing political efforts.
And when they decided that they wanted to defund the police, I decided I needed to sever my connection with the union at that time.
The high school teacher says he's been a longtime backer of the union, even serving in their leadership. He says they should focus on wages and working conditions, but feels the push into other issues is an effort to help current leadership prepare themselves to enter politics. Kevin Tripp, KABC News.
And the markets closed mixed.
You have the magic to help your child's brain grow. While many factors influence brain development, your everyday interactions have the biggest impact, and they include talking, reading, and singing. Get tips on boosting your child's brain development from day one at first5california.com.
KABC SoCal weather, partially cloudy this evening. We've got more clouds and some patchy fog rolling in after midnight with lows ranging in the mid-40s to mid-50s. Low clouds and fog in the morning, then sunny with highs ranging in the upper 50s to low 60s along the coast, upper 60s to low 70s for the inland and valley areas. Currently at 66 degrees in Brea, 67 in Burbank, and it's 61 degrees in Brentwood. It's the Power Drive home after John Phillips. It's Ben Shapiro at 3, then Dan Bongino at 5. Ben Shapiro and Dan Bongino on your drive home on 790 KABC. Traffic coming up next, then it's more Friday night at the French Laundry.
KABC dependable traffic right now. Hours-long SIG alert continuing at Castaic 5 freeway northbound before Templin Highway. Big rig caught fire much earlier, and the right lane remains shut down with the cleanup. That means a solid jam northbound 5 coming away from Highway 126. So from Valencia into Castaic, expect big delays northbound side of the interstate there. Also, in San Dimas 210 freeway eastbound to San Dimas Avenue, multi-car crash. 3 lanes are blocked. Traffic very slow from Lone Hill, a bumper-to-bumper crawl. And in Long Beach 91 freeway eastbound at Cherry Avenue, a crash, middle lane blocked. Traffic already jammed solid from Central. That's dependable traffic. I'm Richard Turnage, JM 790 KABC.
Del Monte Veggieful Pocket Pies are pocket sandwiches that provide a delicious and unexpected way to eat vegetables. Baked to perfection in a golden crust made with cauliflower, Veggieful Pocket Pies are filled with nutritious vegetables and real cheese. Convenient and better for you. Just heat and eat. These wholesome meatless snacks come in 4 exciting flavors with 1 serving of veggies and 9 to 11 grams of protein per pocket pie. Get Veggieful Pocket Pies at your local Rayleigh's.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Like an FM morning show with substance.
In other news,
Armstrong and Getty, morning 6 to 10, just before Larry O'Connor.
It's like 10% as good.
Oh!
On AM 790 KABC. It's Friday night at the French Laundry. On the menu tonight, a better California with executive chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and the wise cashier Randy Economy.
Welcome back to our virtual restaurant on KABC, where you can call it at 1-800-5222-5222. But I promise you some breaking news here.
What's the breaking news? Is it broken?
Yes, I'm going to give you a score. The score. Hit it. Oh, he got the bell. We're going to order up.
Do the bell. Wait a minute. Do the bell one more time.
Do the bell. I mean, do the bell.
I want to hear the bell.
No, dude, order up.
Order up.
There you go. Thank you. This is what we're ordering up.
We're getting ready to cash out right now.
The 9th report has come in. This is not the final report, but this is the 9th report. Does not count all the cumulative total yet. No, for all of you out there watching the NCAA basketball, this is not the cumulative score of all the games. We have verified, turned in 1,454,710 signatures. We already have 1,188,073 valid signatures. Understand what this means, okay? We have another 600,000. They have at least 700,000 they have not even recognized yet. There is no doubt this is going on the ballot. Again, I'd like to repeat that for all of you that are not paying attention or going, I'm talking too fast. Already verified signatures turned in is 1,454,710. Already deemed valid is 1,198,073. We know we have over 2.1 million turned in. We are currently running an 82% verification rate. So, Gavin, whether you like it or not, if you're listening at home, you might want to consider
This is going to happen.
It's happening. And then it happened. All right. Now, Kevin, I got to admit, I feel a little bad for Gavin because if he goes to EDD, he's not going to be able to get unemployment. There's no money left.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you this, Mike. He's actually my constituent. I'm his assembly member, so he's going to be coming to my office for help.
Wow.
Well, that's going to be that's something the Washington Post in the studio tonight was certainly a story you'd like to do. I can hear it now. Who's there? I know I'm not supposed to knock on the desk, but I got it. It's Gavin. That would be interesting.
Well, you know what? On a related note, when Joe Biden did his first weekly video address a few weeks ago, he does these every Saturday. He decided to have a guest on the show, and it was one of my constituents from Roseville.
Really?
And the reason she had contacted Biden is that she had lost her job on Gavin Newsom's orders, and then she wasn't able to get her unemployment check because of Newsom's mismanagement. And so she then turns to her local assembly member's office, me, and we were actually able to help her out and were able to get her a check. I mean, it was my amazing district office staff, but, it was kind of nice that Joe Biden's first weekly video address as president is about me cleaning up Gavin Newsom's mess. Say it's a pretty good sign.
So today, Javier Baccarera, the Attorney General of California, hey, Baccarera.
Sounds like our dessert.
No, that's what Joe Biden calls him. Calls him Javier Baccarera. So Baccarera today gets confirmed as the czar?
Health and Human Services.
Health and Human Services Secretary. So now he's going to go away as Attorney General. And guess who gets to appoint the next Attorney General of California? It's Gavin Newsom. So, Kevin, who's going to be the next Attorney General of California?
Well,
That's a loaded
apparently we'll
question.
know very soon. A lot of people think
What
it's
are
going to
the
be.
odds going to be? What are the odds telling you?
A lot of people think it's going to be Rob Bonta. He's an assembly member from Oakland. Other names mentioned are Darrell Steinberg, the mayor of Sacramento, former president of the state Senate, and then Adam Schiff's name gets mentioned sometimes as well.
I would love nothing more than to have Adam Schiff
Wouldn't that be
appointed
great?
to a
Praying
state
for Adam.
position,
Please, Adam.
subject to recall.
I'm a little
as an illegitimate appointment from this governor.
So let's start a movement. Adam for Attorney General. .com.
Nothing.
So I'm a
nothing would
little
make
bit
me happier.
confused.
Don't be
One, that we're
confused.
having Baccarero Bracero for dessert, but what I'm even more confused on, Kevin, how does the governor, I mean, we've got Biden in Washington. Let me get this story straight because I get a little confused. We've got Biden in Washington putting your constituent on because your office helped him, right? Yet Biden's continuing to put people in Washington that have failed in California.
Right.
And then Gavin, does he really have like unlimited power to pick anybody he wants forever and ever?
Well, so he's made 3 appointments, or after he does the AG pick, he'll have made 3. Secretary of State and AG and U.S. Senate. And the Constitution does allow him to fill vacancies for statewide constitutional offices. With the U.S. Senate seat, on the other hand, it's a different story. There is a provision in the 17th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution that says that it can only be a temporary appointment. Yet Newsom seems to think he can just put Padilla in there for the rest of what would have been Kamala Harris's term. So I went and got a legal opinion from our nonpartisan legislative counsel's office that actually agreed with me that there needs to be an election for this seat. Yet Newsom still has given no indication that he intends to call one.
So would it be a special election in this calendar year, or would they push it over until 2022? Because isn't that when Kamala Harris's seat is even up?
It would be up in 2022, but the cases seem to indicate that you would have to have it just at some point before the next regular election.
Wouldn't that be something?
Wait.
But he should have done it immediately. We have a vacancy. Let's have an election to fill it.
I think
instead of just
we're about to have a special election.
Yeah, I got a great cost-saving measure here, Kevin.
Can we get
do I need to put this on a card, or can I just tell you right now? You know where I'm going with this.
We need a twofer. Mike, we need a twofer.
I think we do. Wouldn't the government, Gavin Newsom himself, of course, whether he likes it or not, that's concerned about this $80 to $100 million, because democracy does cost money. I'm thinking maybe they should eliminate elections altogether, but couldn't we combine them possibly into one election for a senator to fill the rest of the term? Why we're recalling Gavin?
sure.
There's
There's nothing to stop that.
Satire disclaimer. Mike does not feel that we need to eliminate elections altogether.
No.
Mike, you're into this politics now.
Yeah, like
we've created.
We may, if you keep saying stuff like that, we're going to have to do the radio station disclaimer and just distance ourselves from this inflammatory language.
They knew it was a joke.
But it's not really. I mean, that's exactly what they're saying, is that we can't have an election because it costs too much money. I mean, that would be, as you say, an
Wait a
argument
minute.
against elections at all.
This Newsom guy, he spent $200 million on billboards telling people to wash their hands and stay inside.
Or look at the $35 million.
What's the difference? I mean, do you want a $200 billboard cam, and you know somebody got a kickback on those billboards.
Right.
35 million.
Stand 6 pugs apart, right?
6 pugs apart.
But think about the $35 million that what's his name? Padilla, Newsom's U.S. Senate appointee, illegally awarded for voter education to educate people about voting by mail last year. This was so blatantly unlawful that the state's statewide elected controller, who's a Democrat, blew the whistle and would not authorize the payment. And so the $35 million to this partisan PR firm that was part of the Biden campaign, they're sort of, they have these unfilled invoices. And so what happens just last month is the legislature and Newsom come back and authorize that $35 million retroactively.
What was the name of that PR firm? Do you know?
SDK Knickerbocker.
Oh, nice.
You know them?
Don't know them.
They represented the Biden campaign. They represented Democratic congressional candidates.
A little hand in glove, no bid contract payback.
A little shenanigans.
Exactly right.
Lord.
There's something just wrong with awarding to a firm that's called Knickerbocker, and nothing against the Knickerbockers out there.
It's a little creepy.
That's just bizarre. You can't write this kind of fiction that Gavin's doing. And how much Kevin... Again, is there really I've got to believe. I know you're the brightest guy in the legislature, right? The smartest
Definitely
man in
the
room.
brightest guy in the room.
But, well, definitely in the room. It goes without saying. But these other people you work with, right, on the Democratic side and the other party, they do know they're elected, right, and kind of responsible to people.
We're
Nobody
reminding
else,
them
are they
of that right
afraid
now.
to do something about this? Or
Well, the truth of the matter is, Mike, I mean, a lot of folks in the legislature are there because they had some very powerful special interests that, took an active part in their campaign. And so that very much, affects the way they approach their job. And that's just kind of the way the building works. And it's why the most powerful interests, the ones that have controlled Gavin Newsom during COVID and the ones that have controlled our legislature for a long time, always get their way at the Capitol.
we know there's a lot wrong with the system, and for everybody out there, I want to say our movement is by no means an indictment of every elected official, but it's obvious, if it isn't obvious by now to everybody out there, that Gavin Newsom has to go. He can't run the state. I almost don't have words. I mean,
he surrounds himself with people who give him bad advice, and he makes horrible decisions that are bad for the state. And there are people in our state that are truly suffering as a result.
We're going to take one call before the break. It's our favorite recall groupie, Magalina. You're on the air with the three amigos plus Kevin.
Kevin, hi.
Hey,
You're new in
Magdalena.
my life.
How are you?
Hi. You remember me?
I do, of course.
Oh, you guys. I love you guys. Thank you. Hey, well, you know what? I got to say something really weird. You know I love you guys. You're my groupie. I have you everywhere. But, I got a text the day or the moment we got the two, I think after you sent me a text, Mike, about the 2.1 million, whatever, saying, oh, we are against the recall. It was a 510 number. And I text back, says, are you crazy? See, I'm in Zombieland, San Francisco. I'm a minority here in terms of recalling this guy. I got like Miss Queen breed or greed here, They kind of like kiss each other, what up.
Hey, Magalina, we're up against a break. We're actually going to address that later on. Okay? I appreciate your call and everything you're doing, but at the end of the day, right, they can't do anything to stop this recall. They have a 30-day period. I'm up against a break right now.
Magdalena, it is always a pleasure to hear
Always
from
love
you.
you. Thank you for calling in. We love what you're doing up there. Thank you for standing up for San Francisco because they need it. For everybody out there, it's KABC, Friday nights at the French Laundry, 790, broadcast live streaming, and call 1-800-222-5222.
Gatherings, just a prime example of a really big hypocrisy.
KABC, dependable traffic right now in Long Beach, 91 freeway eastbound before Cherry Avenue. An accident. The middle lane is where the crash occurred. Looks like a couple lanes are now shut down by CHP, and traffic really slowing from about Central Avenue there. San Dimas, 210 freeway eastbound at San Dimas Avenue, an accident, 3 lanes blocked at last check, and traffic bumper to bumper from Lone Hill Avenue. Just reported, 10 freeway westbound at Peck Road, a stall in the middle of freeway lanes. 5 northbound before Templin Highway in Castaic, right lane shut down because of an earlier big rig fire, traffic a solid jam out of Valencia. That's dependable traffic. I'm Richard Turnage, JM 790 KABC.
Got a new kitten? Or looking to spoil the ones you already love? Shop online at Chewy. Find food, litter, scratchers, even prescriptions. We've got everything you need to make them happy. Plus, you save 30% on your first auto ship order up to $20. Visit Chewy.com today.
Del Monte Veggieful Pocket Pies are pocket sandwiches that provide a delicious and unexpected way to eat vegetables. Baked to perfection in a golden crust made with cauliflower, Veggieful Pocket Pies are filled with nutritious vegetables and real cheese. Convenient and better for you. Just heat and eat. These wholesome meatless snacks come in 4 exciting flavors with 1 serving of veggies and 9 to 11 grams of protein per pocket pie. Get Veggieful Pocket Pies at your local Rayleigh's.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
USC is in the dance and ready to bust some mad moves.
Peterson lob to Mobley. There's the one-hand throwdown. That's what we came to see.
First round action gets underway tomorrow at 1:15 on your home for Trojans basketball, AM 790 KABC. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Friday Nights at the French Laundry here. We're going to bring on our next guest, and at the beginning, after the top of next hour again, we're going to announce this news, but we'll also do some shout-outs here. But I want to bring one of the, with all due deference to the Washington Post in the room, one of the best journalists up and down about California politics we've got here. Ed, how the heck are you tonight? Ed Ring.
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Of course it is, Ed. We knew that, but thanks for reinforcing that. And one of the things you've done before is the California Policy Institute. We had Will Swain on last week, William Swain. And one of the things Kevin's been talking about, if you've been listening to the show, is kind of this depth of corruption that goes with unions, the control of what I'm going to call the government infrastructure, and they kind of seem to run GABA's agenda. Why can't we get kids back into school, etc.? Can you tell us a little bit about what you, not what you know about it, but your depth of knowledge on it, etc.?
Well, first of all, there's a big difference between private sector unions and public sector unions. And, we can all debate over the role of private sector unions in the economy and in our society. But, I think most people would agree that they do play a vital role, or they certainly have in history. The problem with government unions is they have very little in common with private sector unions because they work in the government sector where they don't have to make a profit. They don't work for a company where if they're too demanding, if they ask for too much, they'll put the company out of business, and they know that. So there's a natural check on their power. They also don't elect their own bosses, which, of course, in the public sector, they pretty much do. One of the biggest political spenders in California, and certainly the most unified political spender, the most consistent, perennial political spender in every single race from top to bottom on the ticket, is public sector unions. So what we've got in California is a situation where the public sector unions are pretty much controlling the Democratic Party. They control a lot of Republicans as well. The other point I want to make right away is corruption doesn't have to be illegal. And I'm not saying there isn't illegal corruption going on. Of course there is everywhere. You can't root it all out. But corruption per se, by definition, it can be perfectly legal. And as it is right now in California, it's perfectly legal to have public sector unions that are exercising incredible control over our politicians, even though there's this inherent conflict of interests between what is in the interests of public employees and the unions that represent them, which is higher taxes, bigger government, and it doesn't even matter if government works. They win. So that's an inherent conflict of interest between the public interest, which is let's have government that works and let's not have any more of it than we need. So these conflicts play out and have a very corrupting influence.
How do you, I'm going to ask you, since we've got Kevin. Ed, have you met Kevin before?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm
Great
a big
guy.
fan of your work, Ed.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, I'm a fan of your work as well, Kevin.
Well, now that we've established you two like each other, no fights in the restaurant. I was worried about that moment.
Food fight, yeah.
Should have done your diligence before, Mike.
I know.
Could have gone very badly.
Darn it. So it's interesting to have a policy, I don't know what the right word is for you, Ed, a policy kind of genius who goes into depth on the phone and a legislature in studio. For a couple seconds, could you talk, how do you balance that out? I understand what Ed's saying, that unions have a right to do this, but at what point, do we draw the line for the rights of the public? And I know there's a balance, but it seems it's gone way too far in California. What is the solution? How do you cut the school unions from having so much control in the state of California over really what's more than the schools, it's everyday life. I mean, the taxes, people going to work. Kevin, is there talk?
Are you asking me or?
I'm asking, I'm going to start with Kevin and then roll to you, Ed.
Yeah, well, I'll say, I mean, one simple thing is just make it easier for folks to opt out of their dues. The state legislature has made that extremely difficult. If you actually don't want to fork over a part of your paycheck for what are essentially political activities on the part of the union. And in fact, I would like to see sort of the default flipped so that they can't take your money unless you actively give your consent. But yeah, Ed, I'd be really interested to hear from you, actually. I mean, what would be the most meaningful reform in California? Would be something like what Scott Walker did in Wisconsin, or what would be the best way to address the problem?
Well, the best way to address the problem is to simply roll back the clock to before the legislation and, Reagan and Brown and Kennedy. There were a number of national and prominent state politicians that had a role in legalizing public sector unions, but even some of the most illustrious figures in the labor movement, including George Meany, for example, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a very pro-labor president, have well-documented quotes where they talk about how you really shouldn't have unions in the public sector because of that conflict of interest. So that's the ultimate solution, is to get rid of them. Public sector employees would still have protection under the Civil Service Act. They would still have the ability to voluntarily form associations that would still be very influential. So there's no reason they have to be unionized. And the problems that we've described are a good reason why they shouldn't be. In the meantime, these incremental reforms, like what we saw in Wisconsin, where they were able to take the collective bargaining and take away the exclusivity of the collective bargaining, and in some cases just dissolve those bargaining units, is something that obviously would be a big step forward, but isn't politically feasible. So in the short to medium term in California, I think all of it can be done, all of it if you have the legislative will. But until that's present, there has to be a grassroots uprising. There has to be grassroots recognition of this conflict of interests, of this fundamental difference between government unions and private sector unions. And I think that what's happened, especially with the schools, is showing that the public is starting to wake up. What we've seen with the teachers' unions over the course of this pandemic has been disgraceful, not only in terms of whether or not and how we open schools back up. That's a big debate, and I don't think that they've really been I'm not real impressed with the way the unions have handled that, but look at how they've handled distance learning, and look at how they've handled what they're going to do to try to make school work, even if you can't open schools all the way back up for classroom instruction. They've just made a terrible job of it. In the meantime, they're getting, $6.5 billion from the state, $26 billion from the federal government. They already had a budget of about $137 billion of baseline spending, if you include what the state throws into the pension funds, and if you include all of the debt service and capital repayments on all of the school construction bonds. I mean, if you add it all up, it's over $135 billion. And then you pile on another $26 billion this year, and you pile on another $6.5 billion from the state, $26 from the feds. This is nearly $25,000 per pupil. What have they done with all that money during this school year? It's disgraceful. So, and I think parents everywhere are realizing this. We already had a growing, very encouraging growth in a movement among low-income communities that these schools that are servicing these communities are not doing a good enough job. They're not doing nearly a good enough job. We saw in the Vergara case in 2016 virtual proof. I mean, it was dismissed on a technicality, but that case proved that the way that they handle dismissal and layoff and tenure policies for teachers in the public schools because of union work rules have a disproportionate negative impact on low-income communities. These kinds of things were growing. The awareness was growing before the pandemic hit. Now everybody knows. Even the public schools that work in these upper middle-class communities the parents are realizing that there's something wrong. There's something wrong with how the districts are being managed and how they're coping with this crisis. And the reason is the power of these unions and the agenda of these unions, which doesn't put the students first.
You know what really surprised me early on in Gavin's office? He actually took action to limit a teacher's authority in the classroom. And, you know, that just left me and a lot of other parents scratching their head. And I thought for sure the unions were going to step in and cry foul. You know, you're limiting a teacher's authority to discipline a student or to suspend a student that is unruly and disruptive to the class. So we'll talk about that more as we come back after break.
Ed, thank you for helping me define corruption. I'm now convinced that Gavin is corrupt by your definition here. It doesn't have to be illegal. Everybody out there, we're going to roll at 8 o'clock and do some celebration. It's KABC Friday nights at the French Laundry, all the way from the international border.
Our only agenda is giving you a voice. KABC, Los Angeles, Orange County. Get it right.
KABC News at 8 o'clock. I'm Sharon Reardon. Good evening. 5 patients are in trauma centers and at least 4 of them are in serious to critical condition after a horrible car crash near Hollywood and Highland. Fox 11 says a reporter and photographer from their station are among the injured. ABC 7 says the reporter is veteran journalist Hal Eisner.
The SUV struck the group of pedestrians on the Hollywood Boulevard sidewalk near the El Capitan Theater Friday afternoon. The 2 Fox 11 journalists were there to cover the reopening of the El Capitan. The Los Angeles Police Department says the driver was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence. Kevin Tripp, KABC News.
California officials are reversing its decision to ban cheerleaders at youth sporting events after major backlash from kids and parents. Karina McDonald, a parent of a cheerleader at Oakdale High School in Stanislaus County, says she was notified of the swift change just this afternoon.
The girls were already being told that they were going to be placed 6 feet apart. We had custom masks made for them because they were told they were going to have to cheer in a mask and be in the mask from the moment that they're on campus until they leave.
The California Department of Public Health says the reversal will reclassify sideline cheer from a supporting group to a recreational sport. Previously, state health officials had announced that cheerleaders, bands, and drum lines would not be allowed at sporting events. And the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival is postponed yet again.
This makes the 4th time since the coronavirus pandemic began that Coachella's been canceled. According to Variety, the festival is moving from its rescheduled date of October 2021 to April 2022 because of coronavirus pandemic public health restrictions. Rage Against the Machine, Travis Scott, Frank Ocean were all set to headline Coachella. Lil Nas X, Carrie Underwood, Alan Jackson were supposed to headline its sister festival, Stagecoach, which has also been postponed until next year. Jim Roop, KABC News.
KABC Sports, UCLA faces BYU tomorrow in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and USC takes on Drake, and that's sports on the home of the USC Trojans. The markets closed mixed. The Dow dropped 234, NASDAQ picked up 99, and the S&P 500 dropped 2 points. KABC SoCal weather. Partially cloudy for now, with patchy fog and more clouds rolling in after midnight. Lows in the mid-40s to mid-50s. Low clouds and fog in the morning, becoming sunny later, with highs ranging in the upper 50s to low 60s at the beaches, up to the low 70s for the inland and valley areas. Currently, it's 64 degrees in Placentia, 64 in Pasadena, and it's 57 degrees in Playa del Rey. The new KABC.com has stories that you'll want to share, curated for you, fair and honest. Check it out, KABC.com. Let's get a quick check of your SoCal traffic, and then stay with us for more Friday night at the French Laundry coming up next.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
KABC, dependable traffic right now. 405 freeway southbound around Santa Monica Boulevard, a stall Highway Patrol is on scene, but a lane blocked, so southbound 405, some slow going through that stretch. And northbound side of the 405 near Mulholland, top of the Sepulveda Pass, earlier stall. That's reported to be clearing, but traffic is extra slow on that side of the San Diego Freeway. 5 freeway northbound near Templin Highway in Castaic. Right lane's been shut down because of the cleanup of an earlier big rig fire. Still a solid jam being indicated from Valencia. 101 freeway southbound slow going from about Barham Boulevard in Hollywood all the way to the 4 level. That's dependable traffic. I'm Richard Turnage, AM 790 KABC.
A smorgasbord of information from RecallGavin2020.com in a tasty, non-caloric, gluten-free bite. It's Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Oren Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
All the leaves are brown.
Not yet.
Mike Netter to say, welcome back, everyone. This is Kevin. I've been asked by Mike Netter to say that I put a muzzle on Mike Netter as we. Yeah, I think that's him. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the just incredible volunteers who have made this whole thing happen, who have built what is far and away the greatest citizens movement in California history. And I mean, I've held events and been part of events throughout the state in many of the counties and have spoken with hundreds of volunteers, folks who have single-handedly gathered thousands of signatures. Just yesterday, I talked to a woman who's gone out 35 straight Saturdays to gather signatures. And that's what's made this movement happen, is the commitment of the volunteers. And you've now given a state of 40 million people a chance at a better future, and and a chance to send a message to the entire country and to make our politics work again. And I think that is something that is just incredibly inspiring. I've never been more inspired by anything I've seen in politics, not even close. And so I just want to say thank you very much for your tireless efforts. And this fight is just getting started.
Kevin, did the lawmakers, did the politicians in Sacramento, did they take us serious?
At first or now?
Or either way. I'd like to get an inside view of what they talk about.
Well,
what do you guys talk about when you're like on the floor of the Senate and the Assembly? Do you talk about this?
Well, sure. It's become an increasingly, common topic. There's the quote attributed to Gandhi: first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. And we're all clearly on stage 3, right? If you look at the governor's just disgraceful actions this week. But yes, this has everyone's attention now. Absolutely. And it's sort of the thing that the beautiful thing about a recall is it's yes or no. There's no place to run. The governor's scorched earth tactics can only go so far because this is a referendum on the status quo. And it's a chance for the people of California to say, we want a fundamental course correction for our state.
I want to bring Ed back on the line for a second. Ed Ring.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you a question. If you could ask Kevin for one issue to try to bring up the Assembly outside of Gavin Newsom, our main thing, what do you think that issue would be that he could fundamentally start to talk about on the legislative floor?
Well, that's a big question, and I'll rattle through some of the big issues, and then I'll pick the one I think that they could do something about. Homeless, housing, energy, water, transportation, forestry. And I'm not even bringing up pensions because they're never going to do anything about pensions. But, those are 6 issues that everybody cares about a lot. And I think the one that is closest to a breakthrough, even in the state legislature, is forestry. I think that it's time, if you could do it, get everybody, they call them stakeholders, get all the so-called stakeholders in a room and then lock all the doors and don't let them out until they come up with an agreement. And the people in the room should be California's timber industry, which has seen its board foot harvest go from $6 billion in 1990 to $1.5 billion. Okay, so it's been cut by 75%. And get the environmentalists, the Sierra Club, and some of the more sensible environmentalists as well, into the same room with the policymakers and get them to agree, first of all, on the facts, which is while climate change, for whatever reason, we have gradual warming. Okay, while that is a factor, the biggest factor by far is the fact that we have overgrown our forests at the same time as we've gotten very good at fire suppression. And when you stop letting fires burn naturally at the same time as you allow this overgrowth, you're going to have trees. You don't even have water hitting the ground, first of all, so it hurts our aquifers and our water supply, because there's in some parts of the Sierra, these forests are 3 or 4 times as dense as they historically have been. So just get them in the room and say, what role is the timber industry going to have? Get PG&E in the room as well in Southern California Edison, because the timber companies used to clear the right-of-ways where all of these power lines were, and they did it for nothing. They kept the fire roads clear, and they kept the fire breaks on the ridges clear, because that was part of their price, along with money that they paid to the state, revenue to the state, for the right to log the forests. You can clear cut in some areas. You can do selective logging in others. That's something I think they can make a deal.
Ed, thank you very much. I'm going to let Kevin tell you what he thinks a little about this, and then roll a couple more things. I really appreciate your intelligence. Orrin, you want to say anything to Ed before he leaves the restaurant?
No, you know what? I think, Ed, I think the sentiment is that there are unintended consequences for a lot of the policies that this government has put into place, and the overgrowth in the forest is just one of them. And, you see that same thing play itself out up in the Tahoe Basin, where the Tahoe Area Regional Protection Agency made it to where you couldn't even rake up leaves in your own yard if you lived along the shore of the lake. But what that ended up doing was created an overburden of fuel, and when it was ignited, it was impossible to put that out. And then you have scorched earth, and then you have the runoff and the ashes into the water, and it did exactly the opposite of what they had intended to do or achieve with that policy.
That's right, Orrin. And we could pick other topics and so forth, but Mike was asking what would be right for some kind of big move forward, and I think even this legislature might be willing to look at that maybe a little bit more with a little more common sense and willingness to compromise. And boy, that would be a great thing.
Thanks, Ed. Ed, I appreciate
You're
you.
welcome.
I had some great conversations. We'll continue some. I'm going to let Kevin answer this, and then roll a couple more volunteers. You heard our total, right, Ed?
What's the latest? Because I don't think I heard the final number. What is
Well, forget the final number for a second. We have close to 2,150,000 and change. They've already verified over 1.1 million of them by tonight.
Verified.
Okay.
So
we'll listen for our next news break. Ed, you should listen to us on the radio every Friday night. You'd be caught up.
Like fun. I'll have more than an appetizer. I'll have a main course.
There you go. Something to bite into. Ed, thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you again soon, my friend. Thanks for
Mike.
being a guest tonight.
Bye.
Randy, ring him up. You're the cashier. You're supposed to ring up him on the way out.
Oh, check, please.
I tell you can't get good help.
I'm doing some research here about how much money the public employees unions have gave to Gavin Newsom in 2 years ago.
I understand. Kevin, just a real quick comment. Do you think that's the kind of issue that Gavin would block, take up together? I mean, Ed said a lot of stuff there, and he's way smarter than I am, which isn't a shock, actually. But can we, do you think the legislature, the way it's structured right now with Gavin at the head of it, for lack of a better term, could actually get anything done besides hyperbole? Because that's all Gavin's giving right now is a bunch of hyperbole.
Well, I mean, we've seen that the meaningful challenges that California has faced have only grown worse. Things like the cost of living, things like our infrastructure, things like the quality of our public education system. And so I think that the short answer is no, is that we truly need some sort of fundamental change in our politics in order to reverse our state's decline. I think that what Ed brings up is a really good example of where you did actually have a small amount of reform done by the legislature after these just catastrophic, unprecedented wildfires of a couple years ago, but it was so little that it didn't really address the problem in any meaningful way.
Everybody out there, listen clearly. One of the reasons Orrin and I, by the way, before I forget, Orrin, Robin, Susan, Dan, Christine, Randy. I want to give a shout and applause and to just all you folks. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and as I continue to actually get something done that nobody said could possibly be done by what we've been called a ragtag bunch of whatever.
Bunch of hillbillies. That's true.
All right. Well,
You're inspiring a lot of nicknames these days.
We do.
I got to tell you, what should be inspired is this. For all you volunteers out there, for everybody, and the totals that we announced once after the break in some counties that more than exceeded their portion of the population, we love you guys. We, no matter if you're Democratic or Republican, we are all Californians, and we're rolling the break at KABC 790 up and down the coast.
We'll be taking calls after the break, and you can call in at 1-800-222-5222.
All right. Voter came in and they caught me red-handed, eating at the place next door. Were there a lot of people there? Picture this, it was not that vacant, like 100 peeps or more.
KABC dependable traffic right now. Lots of extra traffic on many of the streets in Hollywood at this hour because of this situation. Earlier, a car went into a building at the intersection of Hollywood and Highland, and as a result, Hollywood Boulevard closed both directions between Highland Avenue and Sycamore Avenue. Detours in effect, and again, traffic is slow on many of the streets. 10 freeway eastbound at the 405, a crash reported right shoulder. 5 freeway northbound near Templin Highway in Castaic, right lane been shut down for a long time because of an earlier big rig fire. Cleanup continues, traffic extremely slow north 5 from Valencia. That's dependable traffic on Richard Turnage, AM 790 KABC.
What's it?
You've always been the early bird and a night owl. And as your business has grown, you understand the value of guidance from those you can trust. At Eide Bailly, we're in business because you are in business. With offices across the country and 10 right here in California, our team of more than 2,500 CPAs and business advisors is focused on one thing: you. Eide Bailly. What inspires you inspires us. Del Monte Veggieful Pocket Pies are pocket sandwiches that provide a delicious and unexpected way to eat vegetables. Baked to perfection in a golden crust made with cauliflower, Veggieful Pocket Pies are filled with nutritious vegetables and real cheese. Convenient and better for you. Just heat and eat. These wholesome meatless snacks come in 4 exciting flavors with 1 serving of veggies and 9 to 11 grams of protein per pocket pie. Get Veggieful Pocket Pies at your local Rayleigh's.
Ben Shapiro.
I understand that everybody in the media is just obsessed with Orange Man Bad, but Orange Man Bad is not the president anymore. Now you got this crap show on your hands. At some point, you might want to start covering it.
Duh.
Ben Shapiro, weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 790 KABC. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to our virtual restaurant where, unlike Gavin, we serve food and talk with substance. So, what we want to do right now, Kevin, by the way, has checked out. Randy, did he pay his bill?
He did. Actually, he left a really nice tip.
He really left you a nice tip?
$12.
He left a book on the table.
He left the book on the table and $12.
What book is that, Orrin?
It's the Kevin Kiley book.
Reasons to Recall.
Reasons to Recall. And we're in the book.
Gavin Newsom,
you are in the book, Mike Netter. You are finally in a book.
I'm finally in a book that's not a coloring book.
We're about to throw the book at Gavin Newsom.
We're going to throw the book at him. Hey, you know who threw the book at Gavin Newsom today? Do you know who did that?
You're going to tell me?
Yeah, Politico, the magazine.
We're going to get to that 1 second.
Are you serious?
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
John from Sacramento has been on hold 26 minutes. He must have something important to say.
Hi, John.
Hi, how you guys doing?
What's going on, Johnny?
Hey, Kevin, thank you very much for going after Gavin Newsom. And Orrin, I met you on the last day of the Aaron Cruz attempt. Thank you. And you told me you were organizing this event, and you've done a great job. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about Gavin's 30 days to rescind signatures. My event since October up till Sunday, March 14th have produced somewhere around 4,500 signatures. And I can tell you guys that people come up to sign yelling in a loud voice, "Where do I sign?" And they grab that pen out of my hand before I'm willing to give it to them. They don't even want to listen to what I have to say on how to sign properly. They want to sign that petition so bad. They hate this guy. The state workers hate him. The correctional officers are really ticked off at the guy. And it's just everybody. I just got to say, I find it hard to believe anybody is going to rescind their signature. And one more thing.
There will be a select few people who do, but
a smattering. We call it a smattering
because this governor is going to launch a smear campaign. He's going to try and drag us into the weeds as far as personal attacks against me and our team and so forth. And we are going to steadfast and stay the course. But the one thing that he has mastered is operating through threats and intimidation. When he took office, people were working on the wall down on the border, and he came out and openly threatened to discontinue doing business with any company that worked on that wall. And you know what that does to a lot of people? They look at that and they go, "Oh, there's a mafia boss in charge, and I'm in danger if I cross that man." So I've seen it. There's been people that have been afraid to sign or participate in the recall itself because of fear of retaliation. And my message to them has always been very clear. If you're afraid to participate in this process because of what might happen if you do, you should be more afraid of what's going to happen in this state if you don't, and the results that are going to happen.
And one more thing. I've signed people of every color.
Mm-hmm.
And I've signed people from every continent in the world. Lots of people from socialist and communist countries. And I just cannot emphasize enough.
John, what do you do?
Color from every country.
John, this is Randy. What do you do for a living? Just curious.
I'm a day trader.
Okay.
I want to say something right now. It seems a good opportunity to say this, that I'm really sick of Gavin Newsom. He's not really coming. He's not talking about California. We're going to talk about political. John, thank you for your phone call, by the way. Appreciate it, man. I really want to say that Gavin Newsom, wake up. Stop talking about people in the recall. Stop talking about this, that, and the other that has nothing to do with the substance of California.
You know what, though? Every time he brings us up and he tries to drag us through the mud, our web traffic goes off the roof. And donations just flood in. So I don't know if we want him to stop.
Can I tell you something, Mike Netter?
Well, go ahead.
I have learned more about my own personal life and Oren's personal life and your personal life during the past 5 months that I've been part of this campaign.
Some of it's even true.
And even some of it's true. And some of it's really freaking sexy and sensational. But today, we can't even believe today. I'm sitting here watching Politico, and Politico's top story today in the Political magazine that just got published today is, here's the headline. Here's the scoreboard, Mike. Gavin Mussolini.
Wow.
And he's not exaggerating, by the way.
This was the headline.
Politico.
Gavin Mussolini, the superhero pirate, and the ragtag campaign that could take down California's governor. Is the Gavin Newsom recall effort a triumph of grassroots democracy or a sign there just are no rules in politics anymore? That's amazing.
That is.
And it's by journalist Dave Siders. He spent 2 or 3 days with us.
He spent a lot of time.
He spent a lot of time with us.
And I just want to say that Dave is a very thoughtful person and very intelligent, and I have a lot of respect talking with
I do too. Absolutely. And you know what? And having, all of us have been inundated by the media because the worldwide media is very interested in this story. They're very interested in, for some weird reason, our personal lives. They're very interested in wanting to know who is behind the people who are doing this.
The rumor is we're Republican plants.
Oh, we're
which
Republican
could
plants.
be further from the truth.
Oh, and we're microchipped.
Tim,
That's the other
we
one.
see that you're on the line, and there's another caller that we're going to take here coming up shortly. But yeah, that's the rumor is that we're all Republican plants, that we've been sent here to do this, and we're just pretending to be a grassroots.
So I want you to go to Politico.com. I know we're going to put it up on our RecallGavin2020.com website, the link to the article. It's amazing. It's thousands of words. They could probably write a mini-series about this, and I'm sure somebody will someday. But again, thank you to Politico. Thank you to Dave Siders for doing this, and to Nancy Pastor, who did the photojournalist who captured some really amazing images of you, Mike, and Orrin and myself. And everybody here at KABC. So again, it's, with the thousands and, tens of thousands of things that have been written about us and televised about us, it's a phenomenon. So to be able to see this tonight is just really, really heartwarming. So thank you.
Let me tell you something out there. The crux of this story is this. And Gavin Newsom, I hope you're listening. The people of California, the people anywhere, ordinary citizens like ourselves can do something about their government the way it's supposed to be. And Gavin Newsom, if all you have is name-calling and mudslinging, is classifying people, I'd like to ask a favor of you, Gavin. You have an open invitation to come on this radio show anytime and talk to us, the people.
We'll give you an open mic.
That's right. And you could say anything you want. But, Gavin, I challenge you to face the people who actually head up the recall and go face those 2 million people plus that signed the recall.
Let's talk about the problems that we have in the state and find some real answers. At least we're generating a conversation.
Yes, that's right. We are.
And line 3 is Tao. Tao?
Yep. Line 3, how you doing?
Line 2, Tim.
No, it's you got to know who clicked on 2.
Tim? Are you
Tim?
Line 2?
Hey, buddy. What's line 2? Tim.
Yeah, Wheelchair Warrior here. How you guys doing tonight?
What's going on, Timmy?
Well, I was wanting to, see if I can catch Kevin and Ed. I had some questions about the school unions, of if that's actually affecting the K through 12 or the K through 14 systems.
Well, Ed has left the building, and Kevin is out in the parking lot doing some, I don't know what he's doing. But maybe we can help answer that.
He's recovering from Orrin's cooking.
Oh, I know.
Look, we should do a whole show on education here.
Yeah.
But the reality is this, okay? The fact so many of us have to pay attention to it because the system is broken, and our person who is governor of California has made it substantially worse. Because let me tell you something I find incredibly interesting, Tim. He will happy to stand up to the people of the recall that are ordinary citizens, to call names and slick mud, even at people like you, Tim, who does our graphics every week. Thank you for that, by the way. Tim Holliday's a star.
Tim, I don't know if we answered your question fully or addressed your issues, but what are go ahead, you have the mic.
Well, the other question I had would be for Ed. As I was doing some research for Ed, he was talking about homeless back in 2019, and there's a huge homeless issue here in this state, as we all know, as we've all seen. Mm-hmm. And the mental health services are not there for those that need it. I've seen that because 6 years ago I was homeless, so I do know what the situation is here in California, especially in my area.
How did you get? Tell me more about you becoming homeless. I didn't know that.
Just bounced around a little bit. Well,
So-
we'll talk more about that another time.
That's
no problem. I know it's a
as
personal
Mike
question.
likes to say.
It's a
that's
story
a
for
story
another day.
Another day.
The story for another day.
Okay. Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. You know, you're a good friend of the cause. You're welcome to call anytime. I just wanted to make the point of this. Tim is a very special person and does a lot for us. And it's really interesting.
He is a kick-ass
He's
wheelchair
a kick-ass,
warrior.
right? We got to be careful what we say on the radio here. But let me put it to you this way.
say that.
Right?
Wheelchair.
Hey, we're ordinary people. And I want to say this. It's very interesting that Gavin Newsom, the point I was getting to, Orrin, is willing to take shots at ordinary people. But Gavin, if you're listening, one of the reasons we're recalling you, why don't you stand up to the teachers union? Why don't you stand up to get our kids back in school?
Have a
Why don't you
backbone.
stand up to the officials running the EDD and take some accountability and responsibility? We, the citizens, basically have to do your job. That's why we're recalling you.
Now we're going to Tao in line 3.
Tao, line 3.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Great. What's going on?
Hey, this is Dink. Good talking to both of you. Congratulations, by the way, on the 2 million plus signatures. That's an unexpected fate to beat everybody's odds and expectations, to be sure.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there's actually a couple things I just wanted to go over, but to Orrin's point, we really do got to take Democrat strength and turn it into a weakness. Trump kind of showed us how to do this, but you might have noticed that Democrats call us racists, Nazis, bigots, homophobes, but they are always segregating people in every possible way. As a matter of fact, you might have seen some story that came up recently of a university that was having a voluntary graduation ceremony for each person's race. And it should be clear by now that we can peg them with that to take away their power.
That's a very good point, my friend, and I thank you very much for running up against a break. We should have a further intellectual conversation, but you're right. Name calling doesn't really belong on politics, and it's time we took that out.
Well, and it's time to unify this
It's time to
state and
unify and get
stop the
everybody
divisive
together.
politics.
Lee, you're going to be first one on after the break. Again, it's KABC. Wait, I didn't do that right again. It's Friday Nights at the French Laundry. KABC 790, streaming up and down California. Call
1-800-222-5222. 5222.
Creatures. Rules do not apply to us. We are the leaders. Voters can't be trusted to be indoor eaters.
AM 790.
KABC News at 8:30. Good evening. I'm Sharon Reardon. Well, you heard it here moments ago. Randy Economy with the very latest numbers on the Recall Gavin 2020 campaign.
We have verified, turned in 1,454,710 signatures. We already have 1,188,073 ballot signatures. There is no doubt this is going on the ballot.
Governor Newsom has already started a campaign to keep his job. Newsom claims the recall is driven by the extreme right and people who don't like his politics. Organizers say hundreds of thousands of the signatures come from Democrats. It's showtime, AMC Theater says. As of this evening, 98% of its U.S. movie theater locations are open, including more than 40 right here in California. 52 of the 54 total AMC locations in the state are expected to reopen by Monday. The markets closed mixed. The Dow dropped 234 points, NASDAQ picked up 99, and the S&P 500 dropped 2. KABC SoCal weather. Partially cloudy tonight with some patchy fog and more clouds rolling in after midnight. Lows in the mid-40s to the mid-50s. Low clouds and fog in the morning, becoming sunny skies later with highs in the upper 50s to low 60s at the beaches, mid to upper 60s for the inland and valley areas. Currently, it's 60 degrees in Tustin, 63 in Toluca Lake, and it's 56 degrees in Torrance. It's the Power Drive home after John Phillips. It's Ben Shapiro at 3, then Dan Bongino at 5. Ben Shapiro and Dan Bongino on your drive home on 790 KABC. Traffic coming up next, then stay with us for more Friday Night at the French Laundry.
KABC Dependable Traffic right now. If you're getting out of town on this Friday evening and you're taking I-15 through the Cajon Pass, expect a long delay. I-15 northbound near Joshua Street in Hesperia. A crash earlier blocking a couple lanes for a long time. It just cleared, but traffic is extra tough. I-15 northbound from before the 215 freeway merge. And in Castaic on the 5 freeway northbound near Templin Highway, right lane's been shut down because of an earlier big rig fire. The cleanup continues. Right lane blocked, so if you're heading on the northbound 5 toward the Grapevine, getting out of town that way, traffic is a solid jam from Santa Clarita. That's Dependable Traffic. On But Your Turn In, JM 790 KABC.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Ranked number 1 in innovation, Arizona State University offers more than 200 world-class degree programs and personalized support to empower your path. Discover the ASU difference. Tap to learn more or visit asuonline.asu.edu.
Del Monte Veggieful Pocket Pies are pocket sandwiches that provide a delicious and unexpected way to eat vegetables. Baked to perfection in a golden crust made with cauliflower, Veggieful Pocket Pies are filled with nutritious vegetables and real cheese. Convenient and better for you. Just heat and eat. These wholesome meatless snacks come in 4 exciting flavors with 1 serving of veggies and 9 to 11 grams of protein per pocket pie. Get Veggieful Pocket Pies at your local Rayleigh's.
USC is in the dance and ready to bust some mad moves.
Peterson lobbed to Mobley. There's the one-hand throwdown. That's what we came to see.
First round action gets underway tomorrow at 1:15 on your home for Trojans basketball. AM 790 KABC. It's Friday night at the French Laundry. On the menu tonight, a better California with executive chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and the wise cashier Randy Economy.
Serving up a hot recall that's cooking now. As we've already announced tonight, we already have verified over close to 1.2 million signatures. They've recognized about 1.5. They know there's 1.8 turned in. That's as of March 11th. It's too much to get your arms around. I want to start this segment with a special shout out to Christine. Christine, thank you so much for running the mailroom. And thank you she just sent me a note to remind me about that Gavin's kids. We're going to private school, and was struggling a little bit with Zoom like the rest of the state. But Christine really deserves a special shout out. She managed quite a large group of people, probably I get 2 or 3 pieces of mail every day, and I barely open them. Can you imagine getting 20 to 40,000 pieces of mail each week, and her volunteers opening? Christine, a special shout out to you. I want to go to callers here right now. It seems there's never enough time in this show. KABC, maybe we're just going to take the whole day pretty soon. Yeah. We're going to take over the station.
Let's do it right now
with your pirates. Come on. All right. I think next one we go to Orrin. Anna from the Bay Area, line 2. Anna.
Hi.
Hi,
Anna.
Thank you for staying on hold and come and talk with us.
I'm calling from Mountain View, California.
Excellent.
I don't have a particular question. I want to start with that. My husband and I were among those who signed the petition to recall Gavin Newsom. We're super, super, super unhappy with him, period. The way he mismanaged this whole pandemic, and there are a lot of issues. So I want to start saying that we are still registered Democrats, and we are getting these type of text messages. Just want to let you know how they're telling people through text messages somehow they got my phone number in their database because I'm a registered Democrat.
Oh, wow.
And but that's kind of a difference. So I don't feel like, so the thing is, we're still registered Democrats, but we are walking away from this party. But we're just in the process of, I don't know. We're trying to figure out how to re-register. Whatever. But I'm trying to say that we still registered Democrats. And
well, tell
somehow
me,
they got
what are some of the frustrations that you have with what's happening in the state that would cause you to want to walk away from the party?
It's not particular what's happening in the state. It's in general. It's just the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party.
Of course.
There are a lot of issues. It's not just Gavin Newsom. It's just one big issue, and we're in California. But just in general, we sort of woke up about 8 months ago. Like this whole, I mean, I can just describe this whole thing as just hypocrisy.
The amazing thing, Anna, is Newsom tries to completely label this as a Republican coup, a takeover, a hostile political move on behalf of the Republicans.
Right-wing extremists.
Right-wing
Led by
extremists.
right-wing
Proud
extremists.
Boys.
And that is, yes. And
you're a Democrat from the Bay Area.
I am Democrat registered, but if you ask me, I'm not a Democrat anymore, but we still registered Democrat. It's, I need to figure out how to go to that website and re-register, I guess. I don't know how you switch party. I need to just figure out how to do it, but
well, again, this is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about Californians and frustrated Californians and angry Californians. And I think you are.
I am angry Californian,
and I think you're typical. And you're the ones who are the heart and soul of our campaign. Oren's not, Mike's not, I'm not. You are. This is your campaign. You did a great job.
Guys, so what I'm trying to say, they send text messages to people, and this is what they're saying. Hi, Anna. This is Shannon, a volunteer from Gavin Newsom Stop the Republican Recall of Governor Gavin Newsom Campaign Committee. As you know, this recall attempt is being led by a collection of anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, and hardcore Trump supporters who want us to do less to fight COVID. Will you join me in saying you oppose the recall of Gavin Newsom? And of course, I replied to them. I said, that's not true. Many people I know who signed the petitions are not Democrats. And are Democrats, and not anti-maskers, not anti-vaxxers, and not hardcore Trump supporters. Stop these lies and respect other people's opinions and choices. So answering to your question, no. I do not wish to join you to oppose the recall. Please do not send me any more messages.
Wow.
And
that is a
the
powerful
campaign
statement.
has begun.
And it is a powerful
It's
statement.
awful.
And it also shows, by the way, thank you, Anna, very, very much, why we need to continue to. People I've asked a few times this week, well, the petitions are over. We need to continue to get money in at recallgavin2020.com, not only for your donations to keep the radio show up and the fight up, because the Democrats, and I don't even want to say the Democrats, Gavin's side, let me be real here. I don't even like what I just said. That Gavin's side is playing dirty. Isn't it strike anybody as just weird that they would send, and I've seen that text too, and I've seen those emails, that they would just call us names. That's really what politics in California has come down to, that, I can't think of a reason to stay in office, so stop the recall. Why don't you, Gavin, get up like the governor you're supposed to be and lead the people to solve a problem instead of saying fighting the recall? How about I have a new line for you? How about leading the people instead of fighting the recall?
Wow.
Lee from Claremont, you're on the air with Friday Nights at the French Laundry.
Hey, Randy. Hey, Oren. Mike.
Hey, Lee. Hey, Lee.
Thank you for, I guess it's 1.54 and 1.2 that have been verified. You guys are awesome. My question, and I'm going to basically say this, if it happened today, if like Tuesday, we all had to vote, this guy's gone. But what the Democrats always do is drag things out longer and longer and longer. I've heard things about it may be in November. So do you guys have any idea, like snitches, up in Sacramento from the Secretary of State's office or anything like that?
And
If
this
they're gonna
will
do anything like that?
This will probably answer the question for who's on line 3 as well. Rochelle from Northridge, and she's asking how long after the Secretary of State certifies is the election going to be held. We have talked to our constitutional attorney specialist friend, Mark Moiser, and Mark has done the math. He's really good at that, and he's very diligent in crunching the numbers. And I think that he estimates anywhere in late September is the time that we're looking at possibly holding a special election.
Wow. Is there something happening in November? I mean, legislatively, through a normal election going on, that they could tag it along?
No, they
Or
can't.
you just-
They actually kind of made a mistake. They could have. I got 2 minutes left here, Lee. Thank you for the call. I'm going to answer your question. All right, thank you very much. They actually, if they had kept the primary in March of 2022, they kind of sort of could have made the case within 90 days and a few delays. But since the new primary is in June. But also, Lee said something that I meant to say earlier with the minute I have left. The text that was read to us by Anna earlier, they're trying to make this, it's not about COVID. Oh, COVID's going to go away. It's going to change. It's not. It's about California. It's about Gavin's leadership. It's about, frankly, as Ed taught us, and we know his corruption. Gavin, it's time to go. And the people of California are going to do it. On that note, before we go to our last segment, it's Friday nights at the French Laundry. KABC up and down the coast, streaming live to you at
1-800-222-5222.
One final segment left tonight. We got some more announcements and shout-outs.
Just a prime example of a really big hypocrisy. You don't understand, we're not like other creatures. Rules do not apply to us, we are the leaders.
KABC dependable traffic right now on the 60 freeway eastbound at Fullerton Road and Roland Heights. The right lane's been shut down for a time, not because of a crash. Earlier car fire, outbound 60 extra slow going built up from Azusa Avenue as a result. Also in Castaic, continuing SIG Alert 5 freeway northbound near Templin Highway. Right lane's been shut down for hours because of the ongoing cleanup of an earlier big rig fire. It was a major blaze. Firefighters still there. Traffic is still extra tough northbound 5 from Valencia heading into the Castaic area. On the 405 freeway southbound at Wilshire Boulevard, a stall clearing right shoulder. That's dependable traffic. I'm Richard Turnage, AM 790 KABC.
At Eide Bailey, we're in business because you are in business. Our team of more than 2,500 CPAs and business advisors is focused on one thing: you. Eide Bailey. What inspires you inspires us.
Del Monte Veggieful Pocket Pies are pocket sandwiches that provide a delicious and unexpected way to eat vegetables. Baked to perfection in a golden crust made with cauliflower, Veggieful Pocket Pies are filled with nutritious vegetables and real cheese. Convenient and better for you. Just heat and eat. These wholesome meatless snacks come in 4 exciting flavors with 1 serving of veggies and 9 to 11 grams of protein per pocket pie. Get Veggieful Pocket Pies at your local Rayleigh's.
Details.
Dan Bongino.
A characteristic of being a liberal is ignoring common sense. It's collective stupidity.
Weekday afternoons at 5, right after Ben Shapiro is part of the Power Drive Home on AM 790 KABC. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, Maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Welcome back to Friday Nights at the French Laundry. I want to say this is our final segment tonight, but let's be very clear that the final segment of the recall did not end on March 17th. It just didn't. Okay? God, this has been the best work of love in my life. It really has, of all the things I've done. Wouldn't you say the same, Warren, all the joy that it's brought everybody?
Absolutely. Is a labor of love, as we say. And we've always said that.
Randy,
yeah.
I think you said that when you came on board.
I get emotional. I mean, I did an interview yesterday with, I don't know, it was somebody, and they asked me, how does this matter to you personally? And I lost it. I started to cry like a school child, because I think we have all realize that this is something better and bigger and greater than anything we could ever have imagined. And it's all about the people. The people who have just worked so hard, so tirelessly to get this to this point. And, it's an emotional time. We can't do this without those of you in the audience who are, supporting us financially and emotionally and with prayers. And I get people sending me prayers every other day. And I'm a very devout Catholic, and that really touches my soul.
I have had people call up and just ask, Orrin, can I say a prayer over you? And, I stop everything that I'm doing and I take that moment and reflect on it. And it's a wonderful time where, the prayers are so powerful, and it's everybody's words of encouragement and the energy and momentum that has kept the momentum going forward.
And we could shout out some counties that exceeded their goals, but I think one of the most amazing things, and I believe I'm correct, all 58 counties, right, participated in this.
Everyone.
We didn't have a single county that didn't have signatures turned in. Many of them far exceeded. We'll post some of them on our website, recallgavin2020.com, that far exceeded their percentage of registered voters and population.
There was a commonality among all of those counties that exceeded their goals. You know what that is? Leadership.
That's right.
It was a direct reflection of the people in those communities that were leading